So I think I know what's going on when we get confused. Okay. I think what's happening is that we're mixing together three things. One is you and me clarifying a point between ourselves, the audience who it's intended for, and the strategy. So when you play devil's advocate, I used to think you were disagreeing with me. But you're saying, well,
No,
this
no,
is
yeah, but the devil's advocate I played earlier. Then I
yeah,
stopped with that. I'm
right.
trying to clarify among us now
Is it
what,
okay?
uh, if and how order in the universe
Right.
uh, can be accounted only in a naturalistic way, or there must be more than just a physicalist understanding of the universe.
Okay, so let me check with you, just the pure philosophical point. I want to take your points of entropy and conservation of energy. So I think it's almost universal throughout all of Sri Aurobindo's writings. Actually, I was looking at Life Divine. He says, not only could you not possibly have any order in a naturalistic universe, which is physical, that even with mind, much less supermind, you can't possibly have any order, it'd be chaos. So do you disagree with that?
No, no,
I
no,
will
absolutely
admit,
not.
oh, so you agree on the point.
Yes, I completely agree with this thing. I have no issues with, neither with Sherbindo neither nor with you about the fact that the order that we observe in the universe cannot be cannot rise out of a purely mechanistic, unconscious um, matter
Mhm.
and universe and manifestation if there is already some intelligence, so to speak.
Right.
It,
Okay.
but oh, of course, you know
Okay.
me. You should know me now.
That's why I thought, yeah, that's why I thought, yeah,
My doubt is that to make this convincing,
right. It's a
to
strategy.
yeah, the strategy
Right.
to
Right.
explain that, I think that the path, this is a strategy, a starting point that is not the best. Because I would much more ask people, what is matter? Do we
Right.
know what is matter ultimately, or what is
Right.
energy?
Right.
That, but the order you can evade. You can find excuses in the scientific naturalistic paradigm
I
to
understand.
make an argument
Uh-huh.
that tries to convince you that it's all about naturalism. For
Right.
example, invoking Darwinian selection rules, or just some random process, or the fine tuning with multiverses, and so on. You will always find an escapade where the physicalist will be able to counter argument, to come up with a counter argument.
So let's take the two, you brought up two things, and let me do a third one. Let me do four. Okay. I think you educated me this past few days that it's much better for me to use the word order. I'm not convinced yet about not doing it. I think you're right. The term laws of nature is such disagreement. It's not a good one to use. Even patterns, right? Just the fact of order. Let me just say that. Now let me give you a couple of instances. I had my science background in high school. I took one biology course, one chemistry course. That's it. I have not
Yeah, yeah,
taken a
okay, yeah, no, no, but
I'm not taking a formal science course since 1967. I almost flunked it because I was playing music all the time.
it
Okay.
could be even an advantage in a certain sense, huh? Because
Well, when I was
you don't have this
true,
close-minded way of seeing things. Huh?
true.
Might
And
help.
I loved science and math as a kid. I was top of my class when I did it. So I know I have the ability. Now, when I was 17, I had I woke up one day as an intuition, like, I know there's something science is missing. I could never say it. Now for me, maybe this is personal. It was 17 years later. I was teaching music for dance at a college in New York. And I read this book by a scientist, Richard Morris. And somewhere in that book, he said, laws of nature or just a phrase we use for observations. And I just suddenly, the whole network of materialism just fell apart for me.
Ah, interesting.
There was a chemistry professor from India who had studied in Madras. And I said, can we have lunch? Can we talk to you? He said, oh, of course. His teacher was a Brahmin, and they used the Upanishads in his chemistry class. He said, of course this is true.
Okay.
Okay. Now, have I had success? I have talked to maybe a dozen atheist skeptics, and this was the key thing for them. I'll give you one example. In Bernardo's online group, I said to him, laws of nature don't explain how things can have order. He was a STEM graduate student. And now he had a motivation to stay with it. We spent 6 months, and one day he wrote me and said, oh my God, my whole view of science has totally transformed. Now, having said that, you raised some good challenges. I like this. So one was entropy. So if
Right.
someone was saying, well, look, wouldn't you expect, right? In an intelligent universe, there wouldn't be entropy. And I would say, in a non-intelligent universe, there's this, it seems to me, I don't understand these very well. You can help me. That the whole question of entropy implies this incredibly super complex phenomenon that takes place over billions of years. I think that would not occur in a mindless universe. It wouldn't be that organized. It would be just like chaos.
Yeah, but isn't this the
Yeah.
second law of entropy? The second law
Yeah.
of thermodynamics
Okay.
is, in fact, stating that the disorder in the universe globally always increases.
Right.
You can create order locally, but at the expense of the global disorder in the universe.
Okay.
So it's only in that way that nature creates order. But overall, you have this, and therefore I said, this is an argument that a physicalist might come up with and tell you, no, you see. Yeah.
Okay, so you're using the word, let me see if this makes sense. This is very helpful. So let's see, what you're saying makes total sense. Is it possible, and speaking to you as someone who's a physicist and knows all this, I'm going to step away from the scientific definitions altogether.
Yeah.
Step away from them altogether, and I'm going to ask a childish question. Okay, and I think I've said this before online, but never said it in person. This seems convincing to me as I am a scientist, I'm a psychologist, but as a non-physical scientist. Okay, I am holding, say, here we go. Okay. Let's say this is a deck of 52 cards.
Mm-hmm.
I drop it. Okay, and as it drops, it falls into a perfectly formed, beautiful card castle.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's extremely unlikely, yes.
Wouldn't you say like the odds are 1,000,000,000 to 1, 1,000,000,000 to 1?
The one over a trillion.
Whatever. Okay,
Yeah,
okay. And you would be astonished. You would be stunned because you expect, okay. Without going into any scientific terminology or definitions, if you have nothing, and then, this extraordinary, what word can I use of an order? I'm just using the everyday sense of my desk is disordered or organized, this organized stuff, right? Why is that less astonishing? Why wouldn't that be more astonishing than me dropping? I'm just asking on an emotional, see, I'm coming in from a psychological level. I want to convey the feeling, not the idea, the feeling that actually I can sum it up. I'm trying to convey the feeling of miraculousness, that this is a miracle. That without any mind, without any guidance, it just, not that it takes place. I mean, Dawkins says, well, there may be endless universes and endless, by chance. Even I could more intellectually say, why by chance, if there's like 500 billion to the nth power universes, why would it still, if it's mindless, why would it ever become organized? But forget that. Okay. I just say you have nothing. And then you have not just like, you have like this, the laws of nature, the stars. How is that not miraculous? Let me say one more. Let me check a physics thing
How
too.
is that not?
How is it not miraculous? But wait, let me check a physics thing. Okay. So let's take entropy, right? Okay. So the way that physicists over centuries have come up with the second law is through, tremendous complex mathematics, endless observation, and this is the way it works. And that's fine. This is how the universe works. Now, today is December 29th. What if, how would you, as a naturalistic physicist, explain to me why on tomorrow at 7 p.m., the whole thing gets reversed? And, on what basis could you explain to me why can't it just reverse tomorrow? Why can't
What
it
is
just turn
reverse? I didn't understand.
the entropy? Suddenly it starts getting more order. Is there
Yeah.
anything, and here's this final question. Is there anything you can tell me that doesn't really amount to, it won't happen that way because this is the way it is, which
It
is not,
can. According to the physics laws of physics, it can, but it
okay,
is so extremely improbable that also in the whole universe, for the whole time of existence of the universe, it will probably never happen, even not even once.
okay.
That's
So,
the answer. But sorry, but you've previously said, let's see it like kids.
yeah,
Now you are falling back into the scientific perspective, because
well,
of course, when I look at these things like a kid,
yeah,
of course I say, oh, it's a miracle. But
right,
a kid may see a lot of things that seem to be miraculous, but are not. For a
right.
kid, perhaps how a car works, a motor engine, a car engine works, might look like miracles. But this doesn't mean that it is. Yeah?
But it's different because you do have a reasonable explanation for how cars work. You, as a physicist, have no explanation.
No, no,
It's a
no.
naturalist.
They
Yeah,
don't. We don't know what the ultimate origin of order is. In the sense, the origin of order
right,
requests precise laws of nature
right,
with precise physical constants, etc., with precise properties. But once you have these physical laws, it is not so impossible to explain, for example, the ordered crystal structure of the molecules in an ice crystal.
Oh, I understand. That makes sense to me. Um, why? Okay. So you're saying, okay, I'll grant at the beginning was a miracle, but after that, that explains everything. So let me ask this, and this is I guess more physics. Um, According to laws of physics, or whatever, a rabbit, if you watch a rabbit, it's not going to like suddenly turn into a roller coaster, right?
But a rabbit?
Will not turn into a roller coaster.
A rabbit? Okay, no, no.
Okay, okay. And uh, if it did, that would be considered a violation of the laws of nature, right? Probably.
Mm. Well,
Why
well, it depends how this happens. I can, in
it just
principle,
happen?
well,
No, it
first
just
of all,
happen.
a rabbit, there's not enough mass,
No, but
to
it
build.
just and yet it happens. If it happens, what do you say? Just say it happens.
Well, yes, then there would be a violation, because a violation also of energy conservation, because the mass of a roller coaster
Right.
is much bigger than the mass
Right.
of a poor rabbit.
Okay.
Uh,
Can
but in
you?
principle, if
Yeah.
we would have equal mass, I could imagine that I
But
take.
it wouldn't. It would have more. It would violate all. It would happen in a way that would violate all laws of nature. And then, can you explain to me anything why that wouldn't happen other than saying that's how it works? So you're gonna tell me why that doesn't happen. The only thing you can really say is
I
that's
told
the way.
you, an example is that it would violate the energy conservation principle, the law of or energy conservation, because you don't have the same. You need different masses. They are completely different. You must transform all the mass of the rabbit into the mass of a roller coaster, which is
Right.
hundreds of thousands, much more. So
Yeah,
where does
I
this come
understand.
from?
Right. But you keep your explanation is does I agree with you, by the way. Of course, it's you're right. But your explanation to me still doesn't amount to any more than saying it can't happen because that's not the way things work.
Well, no, I would say it can't happen because it violates the laws of physics. The question, of course, is why do we have exactly those kind of laws of physics? Why don't we have other laws of physics? What do you see? We are also using a language. We are speaking about the laws of physics, but this is again something else that if you look in a physics textbooks, you
Right.
will not find a clear-cut ultimate rigorous definition of what the law of physics is, and that is accepted everywhere by everyone. So we are already talking of
Yeah.
something without really knowing what we are talking about. You see
Okay.
the problem.
I think I need to take it outside physics. I'm really not talking about a physics problem. It's not, we cannot use the law. Whatever you say about why this can't happen, if you're using physics, whatever words we use, you're ultimate in a naturalistic sense. You're still, I think you're still ultimately resorting to it can't happen this way because things don't work that way.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, in a certain sense, yes, because the laws of nature put certain constraints. We don't know why, and it's just how
It
things
is,
work. Yeah, in a
right.
certain sense, you can
And
put it,
and this
but
way of being given that there's no foundation for this, I'm going to call it order. There's no foundation for this kind of order. There's no reason for it. There's nothing that holds it in place. In a naturalistic setting, there's no reason why they can't change.
uh, can change what?
Totally.
Ah, the rabbit into the roller coaster.
No. The order, all these principles of order, I'm going to call it principles of order for now. I don't want to
Mhm.
get these principles of order that physicists have used to explain everything. There's no reason in a mindless natural universe why tomorrow they may just all change.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but
Oh,
this is
that's my
something that
point.
no, but this is something that scientists have pondered about also a century now, because there a lot of scientists are thinking about whether these laws which determine the
Right,
order in nature may be mutable in time. And there has been a lot of discussion about that and also research.
right.
Uh, but so far, we did not find an evidence that they change, which doesn't mean that they don't change. It's just, I'm
Yeah,
saying, in 2023, we still didn't find an evidence, a clear evidence of the change of the laws of nature in time. Maybe
okay.
they do, but so far we didn't find such evidence.
I've seen some,
And this is not I would not say that the physicalists and the scientists never thought about that. They thought about that, but
but I'm saying something much more extreme. I'm saying
mm,
something much more extreme. I'm aware of that too. I read that too. I'm saying, what justification would you have in terms of explanation why they couldn't, not just like little bits, like saying the entire thing just falls apart tomorrow. Oh, everything, the whole universe dissolves.
yeah, because if the laws change immediately, yeah, everything would crumble
Right?
into pieces. Yeah, for
How
sure.
would a physicalist say, explain again, what they can say, which everyone says, is that, like you just said, up to 2023, we've looked for this, we don't find it. That's the way it is. So in a way, the explanation, again, of the naturalist is like, it won't happen, things won't dissolve tomorrow, because given that what we've observed, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, but let
That's
me
what,
also
yeah,
distinguish because you have in mind the kind of physicist or scientist who, well, never thought about these things and is also not really interested probably in these kind of philosophical discussions. Because those who say, well, it's how it works, I don't mind, well, it's philosophy, doesn't interest me.
Right.
Yeah, perhaps, I don't know, maybe a majority of scientists are like that. But
Right.
those scientists who have thought about these things, you can have a bit deeper conversation about that. But those scientists will again go into the technicalities. And I don't think you can reduce this kind of topic to a dialogue between children. It's
Well,
not. It's not like this modes of experience. I like this is an expression that I got from one of my friends who talks about modes of experience. Yeah? Everything that we perceive in the world, of the world, or what we believe to be the world, is ultimately a subjective experience,
right.
and this is something, and there is no, the reality that we perceive, and here I like to say it is a sort of shadow. I like to use Plato's cave allegory, and it's not as it is out there intrinsically what we perceive.
Right. Right.
This is a kind of experiential, a first-person approach kind of argument that you can make also without going into the scientific aspects and losing yourself in physics and definitions and whatever, because it is at first you ultimately are inviting people to become aware that everything is first person experience. There's nothing else. Yeah?
So
Here, however, let me conclude, then
go ahead.
let you speak. Here, in this case, what you are trying to highlight, I see this, it's difficult to abstract here instead from the scientific, quite complicated and contrived concepts of physics. You cannot get to a conclusion so directly as with this first person approach experience. And that's what I'm saying.
Okay. See, we agree so much. Remember I said that I see two things as fundamental. And number one, I totally agree. My first approach, exactly, Bernardo takes the same thing. I think it's exactly right. You start with qualia, start with experience.
Yeah.
And that something purely physical is, and I think that even though I think, Amal Karan had a book on science and mysticism, and he had a chapter on this whole thing of using the brain, as, what's out there is just constructed in the brain. I've been using that for years. He said,
yeah,
absolutely not.
Well,
he said, philosophically, it's totally wrong. He said, you should start with consciousness. Okay, so technically speaking, and Sri Aurobindo goes into this in Life Divine. It's not correct. The neuroscientific view is not correct. There's not a physical world out there with unknown stimuli that stimulate a purely physical brain and then experience that happen. That's a totally dualistic way of thinking of things. However, because everyone thinks that way, and Paul Brunton, he has a book where for like 300 pages, he just does this neuroscience thing. It's a pen, what's the pen, it goes in the brain, and then he says, but wait, after 300 pages, he said, now wait a minute. Do we really know of a brain? He tricks you. It's billion. Yeah. And then do we really know of this? And what is this stimuli? Isn't that all just mental creations? Okay.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And I think we do agree about the order thing. You can't have order in a mind. You agree you can't have order in a mindless universe, right? You have no trouble with that, personally.
We are not. Yes, personally, yes, because it's an inner intuition.
Yes. Okay. So wait. Okay. Forget the kids thing. Forget physics. I should maybe just ask you. Let's assume, by the way, I think in the first person experience, this first point, we start with experience. I think it needs, I would do when I put this together, 24 videos with slow, meditative, musical illustrations, because people have these, as a psychologist, I know that we have layers and layers of subconscious beliefs about an external physical world. And you can do this for months, and people say, but Don, I feel it. It's real. And they've gone through this. Okay. Next, assume people have gone through all that. And assume they have this sense of this magical, mysterious, wonderful world of experience. Assume they even accept, okay, yes, my consciousness, my mind is limited, but I can see it's not unreasonable. Let's say they feel this, to assume a larger consciousness. They got that far. Now, at that point, if I say, I give them the card example, and I say, assume you don't know anything like me, you know almost nothing of physics, right? And you just look, and I'm just going to appeal to your intuition. Forget laws of entropy, whatever. Just look. I'll show them the picture, one of those pictures of the Big Bang. Look at all of this. If you just go and imagine all of that as things that you're perceiving in consciousness, right?
Yeah.
Even in a world of consciousness, how can there be order? If there's no one to. This is my number one thing with Bernardo. He's got this universal consciousness, which is like a bumblebee. How does that?
I have the same
Right.
problem with that.
Exactly. And I've gone to the fan club, and a lot of people get it. Like I said, this is the core problem with his theory. Okay. So I say, we're meditating, we feel consciousness everywhere, we feel the world's alive. Look at this video and tell me, what does it mean? Actually, I could even use Bernardo's. Like, imagine you have an instinctive universe.
Yeah.
Domino says, even a mind as ours would still lead to chaos. You need a supermind. Mine wouldn't do it. Forget mindless. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
So do you think at all it'd be helpful after people have gotten to that point to say this, whatever word you want, order, not a precise definition, just this, what you mean in everyday language, organization, patterns, order, comprehensibility. Do you imagine this could arise and persist? Not just, once it's there, I know, but why doesn't it change? Why doesn't it fall apart? So that's what I'm not looking for a precise scientific definition. That's it.
So you say, as I understand it, that let us assume that we are in a sort of cinema.
Yeah.
And we see, and let the machine, the cinematograph, the projector, do things randomly.
Right.
And yet, order appears and an entire film appears.
Right.
Without, how can this be? Huh? Yeah.
Exactly.
It's clear. So it's if we are only relegate us only to the subjective experience, only to this modes of experience. When we realize that everything is only a mode of experience, also speaking about the laws of nature is all itself a projection of our mind, it's itself a qualia, it's itself something that is also a modes of experience. It's like the metaphor where you took up this neurological example where someone tries to understand how the subjective experience arises by looking with one's own eyes in the brain. You open your skull and why don't you see it? Because there is your experience itself is primary. It cannot, what you see, your brain is already the experience. So you come in a sort of also of a logical loop that you cannot come out of it if you stick to the physicalist point of view.
Exactly.
And in this, in a sense, after all, science itself, with all its explanations, are just mental constructs. Mental constructs are mental experiences. They are not sensorial experiences. They are not vital, emotional experiences, but they are still, I call them mental qualia. They are something seen by, again, a witness. So, and yet order appears. Yeah,
Right.
could be
You gave me another
way,
idea. Yeah.
but I don't know.
You
I'm
gave me another
skeptic
idea.
that this is a convincing argument for those who are maybe also open, but yet
Yeah.
skeptic. I don't. I think it's contrived. It's
Yeah.
complicated.
You're giving me two ideas. One is for me as a non-physicist to be wary of moving towards physics. I can see any physicist is going to tear me apart in terms of words. So I
Yeah,
get
yeah,
that.
yeah, I understand
But
what
no,
you
no,
mean.
no. But wait. When something that I got a deep over a period of a couple of years when we were writing our book, as I looked at parallels between what Sri Aurobindo talked about, evolution of consciousness, and what science knew at the time, which, by the way, 20 years ago is far less than what they know now. You know, what one-celled organisms,
Yeah,
plants, reptiles, how the world. Now, Ulrich does this very well too. He says he he talks about how matter, as we perceive it, only came into existence a few centuries ago. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. In a
perceptual.
certain
So anyway,
sense, it's true. Yeah, yeah,
but leave that aside. When you try, I would love to do a series of videos. What is the world of an amoeba? Because we
yeah.
as humans think we see an amoeba, it's here, it's moving there, and there's this, but that's not the amoeba's world. And then you begin to look at what is the world of a fish. Evidently, this is great. According to Franz Wahl, who's an anthropological biologist, he says in his studies, fish are the first species that have a sense not of ego, but of being centered. They have a sense of being centered in the world, right?
Yeah.
So the world suddenly completely changed. The amoeba, there's just this vibrations, right? But for a fish, suddenly there's something. It's not a fish, There's something local, some sense of
Hmm.
locality. Okay. Now mammals, like bees can do this waggle dance where they can communicate distance, how much honey, how far to go, what direction, but there's not an image. That's what they say. Whereas mammals actually form some kind of image without a sense of self-awareness. Now,
I
some
don't know.
primates,
Bees don't bees have an image of the world? It's
right?
pixelated because basically they have these eyes, or so, but
But
as far
they're saying in terms of their experience, yes, it may look like that, but and who knows? But the
yeah,
neuroscientists say, the
no,
evolutionary neuroscientists say, they don't experience an image the way mammals do. Mammals
yeah,
actually can, who knows? But then
yeah,
primates, dolphins, maybe African gray parrots, they can recognize themselves in a mirror. They have a sense of I, and the world changes. So you go from a world of almost complete, I'm saying in the lay sense, for one-celled organisms, a world that would appear to us to be disorderly and chaotic.
yeah. Who knows? But I'm not sure that maybe these one-celled organisms have some kind of experience that they perceive orderly. What do we know? We don't know.
Well, then you could cite Virgil, who lost his eyesight at age 6 and regained it at 47. When he opened his eyes after surgery, it was pure chaos. There
Yeah,
was
yeah.
no.
But
So
this is another aspect. Yeah.
yeah,
But this is because well, this is also neurologically determined. Your brain, it takes time until your brain constructs a reality and gives meaning to the objects that we see.
right.
The objects when we see are just experiences, just random patches of
Right.
that are meaningless, that have no meaning in itself. And this is a reification, I think some would say. And this is also an example that tells us that we don't see the things out there as they are in itself, but they are a construction of the brain, mind, or whatever. And they serve a certain purpose to navigate in a world, but that's not the world as it is, and we should not take it as we see it,
Right.
the world as it is. Mm-mm. Yeah, yeah, but on this point of, I have no issues. But why not starting from a much simpler thing, as that I was talking at the beginning? what is matter? When I ask this question, people say, "Oh, Dr. Masi, punch your head against the wall, and
Right,
then you
of
will."
course.
This is I'm just saying, citing a case, a real case that happened to me. Someone, and I must say, in a certain sense, they get to the bottom of the. They already gave the right answer without
Right,
being aware of it. After all,
right,
also matter is just an experience. It is a
right.
construction in our mind
Huh?
on the base of sensorial experiences, perceptions.
I agree with you, though. I agree with
Yeah,
Star Trek. I agree,
but
totally.
I would, I like much more this kind of approach. What is matter? Yeah. What does science tell us about matter?
Mhm.
Matter, because at the end, that's the interesting point of science converges to what we are saying, but it does it only at the end. You have
Right,
first to go through this all this process that can be quite contrived in a certain sense. What is matter? Well, we say matter is made of hard stuff. Okay, but what is this hard stuff?
right,
Well, these are molecules, and you should stick together. Yeah, okay, but if you think about it more more carefully, you will see that you just shifted the problem. You did not solve it because
right.
you imagine these molecules as being hard marbles that stick together, which is already, according to the modern scientific view, is already wrong. We have
Right, right.
modern chemistry depicts molecules already with the quantum physics, and they are
Mhm.
some fuzzy thing. And if you
Right,
go down again, you speak about particles and the protons and electrons, which compose these molecules and atoms. But these elementary particles, we again imagine them as being this point-like or
right,
little marbles
right,
made of hard stuff. But that's a
Mhm.
completely wrong understanding.
Right,
Modern physics tells you that they are probability clouds.
right, exactly. Which is the
So
concept. That's Claudia,
complete
too.
abstract concept, yes,
Yes, right,
which, however, deep down, what is this probability concept, probability cloud, probability density function about? It is
Mhm.
the probability that you find the particle in a certain position and not
Right,
there. You have the probability to find it there, and another probability there. But what is it that you mean by uh, finding the particle in that place? You are talking about an experience. Yeah?
right,
Because a
exactly.
measurement always boils down to an experience. So this
Yes,
probability is about the probability of making the experience of having the experience of seeing. You don't see absolutely nothing. You are just a dot eventually on a screen or whatever. You never see the particle in itself, of course. Uh, so also there, and physicists eventually can talk about forces. These, why is hard stuff so hard? Well, when I push together my two hands, and when I feel a force at the microscopic level, it is about these molecules that repel each other. And how do they repel each other? By forces, electric forces. Okay, then we imagine these electric forces, with electric fields that repel each other. But then I can ask, what is this electric field, these electromagnetic interactions, photons, and whatever? What is a force? Okay, so
exactly.
you can
Right,
begin a whole other chapter on defining what is a force. But at the end, you will come back again and find that the force is defined by something that somehow it has to do with the inertia, inertia of matter. So you turn back to what
it's a
is matter.
circle. It's
What this shows that we have constructed a conceptual frame
right,
which is a projection of ideas, and these
Mhm.
ideas are experiences in consciousness again. So
Right.
you
I have
cannot
no
get
trouble. I
out
got that.
Yeah, but I like much more this example, which starts with asking what is matter, and you can lead, because after all, people know what atoms and molecules, they have heard about these things. Of course, you can more or less, even if you don't know the definitions, you have an experience of. By the way, forces are there. We all, every sensorial experience, I think, can be reduced to some experience of force, no? So this is, in my view, much better example, at least from the didactical point of view. From this philosophical point of view, it's a matter of preferences, I think. But from the didactical point of view, asking what is matter is much more conductive to a result, to an understanding that we are consciousness. It's all about consciousness. Then talking about order, yeah, I bet that people will lose themselves in, yeah, what are the laws of physics, entropy, and then, okay,
we'll see.
fine-tuning, because after all, it boils down to the fine-tuning problem.
Fine-tuning has never moved me at all. I find that completely unconvincing. I've never used it. But I see we agree.
Yeah, it's
we agree. I start with experience. What does this matter? You know, I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing on any plan. Even tactically, I agree. But I find personally, and I found when talking to people, this question of how things can be the way they are, not just that it's just conscious, but how can this beauty and this order, people just are very moved by that. But it's different. We're going to have different strategies.
Beauty, I would say, would be much more attractive for me than order.
That's you. There are some people who are the other way.
Everyone, that's like consciousness, because everyone agrees that there are things that we consider beautiful or not. Even, of course, there's a high degree of subjectivity. There are things, for example, the people who find Pablo Picasso paintings paintings beautiful. I don't, but that's a matter of personal preference. But nevertheless, we agree that there are things that, and I never heard about someone saying that a rose is not, your roses that you have there in the background, they are beautiful. And I think more or less everyone would agree with that. Why is that? Where does this come from? Why?
Oh, it's evolution. It's just evolution. It's survival of the species, and I know all the arguments about that.
Yeah, sure. They would come up with that. Yeah. Survival of the species. What is the survival function for me now? And saying that you.
I know.
That's much more convincing.
You and I are going to have. You and I are going to have different strategies because you're coming from physics, I'm coming from psychology. Let them all bloom. You know?
Yeah.
We agree on the origin. We agree on the first thing is what is matter, what is this, what's experience. We totally agree on that.
Yeah.
I still find the order one convincing, but I may be wrong. We'll see. When I start.
Yeah, but I would suggest you not to say, at least especially not to scientists, that science doesn't explain nothing. You must, this is a rival point. You can get to that point eventually, but you must start in a long discussion, the digression, and explaining the technical details what you mean by that. Because if you throw it on the table in that way. And I would also say that you can't tell scientists also in the same manner, just throw on the table and say science can't explain nothing about order in the universe. Because they would tell you, well, you have a crystal is ordered. Science has a good account for that. Or snowflake, or a snowflake. It has a symmetry. Symmetry is again another interesting topic, by the way. This snowflake and chemistry, chemical physics can account for that.
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
I would be careful before telling people and saying, "Oh, science can explain nothing and can't explain all."
Right, right.
You
Let me
can,
ask
but
one
you
more.
have to write at
Yeah.
home.
Let me ask a quick question for a scientific point of view. This one, I love this, but it never works. I think I just abandoned it. So if I say to you, I think if I say, show me a scientific experiment that would give not just proof, but evidence of pure, you know, pure physical stuff that exists apart from consciousness.
Yeah.
People never understand this. So is it just useless? How
No,
would you?
this is a completely different approach. Yes, yeah. That's
No one ever understands it when I ask it.
no, but you cannot. Okay, if you ask it only in this way,
Yeah.
you, of course, for people who have never thought about these things,
Right.
yeah, you don't. What is this guy
What are you
talking about?
talking
Of
about?
course,
Right.
that's what I said. You have to lead them and take the hands and showing step by step that after all, everything that was the first person approach that I was talking about previously.
Right.
After all, everything boils down to experience, but you cannot just, yeah, again, you cannot throw it on the table.
You're right. That's good.
I use the question of what is matter. Yeah.
Right.
Matter. So you step by step, at the end, you can show it's all about conceptualization and sensory experience.
Right. Right. That's good. Okay, that helps. Yeah. Good. Let me
Yeah,
tell you again.
sometimes we jump. We give. That was also my problem when I became first a teacher. I
Yeah.
came with this academic thing. I just wrote on the blackboard everything, and they didn't understand the thing
Right.
because I left the steps in between out. And
Yeah.
yeah, but you can learn these things.
That's
It's
good.
not. Yeah, it's a didactical issue, not a philosophical question.
Yeah. Before we close, I just want to tell you, I'm thinking, it's mostly you and me and one other person on our little effortless living thing now, our little group. And I think Jen and I don't want to have that because it's a commercial network, really. We're kind of hanging, yeah. So I'm going to dissolve that probably in a week or two. I have a little Google blog online. I want somewhere online where we can share passages and stuff. So I can post stuff on this blog. And when I come up with stuff to show you, I may just put it there on this blog rather than, yeah.
But where is this blog? You have to send me the link?
No, I will. Yeah, it's just a Google blog. It's a blogger. I've had for like
Google
10 years.
blog. I didn't know that there are Google blogs. Okay.
Yeah, I've never shown it to you. It's free. You can do it forever. And yeah, I'll send you a link sometime.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I used to use it for patients for giving advice because legally,
ah,
legally, I'm not allowed to give them my website. My website may have some commercial link that's against ethics in North Carolina. So I had to create this separate blog saying, please go there. I'll give you some advice for anxiety, depression. And that was safe. Anyway, so I've kept it and I can put stuff up, there.
yeah, but you're not allowed to give your link of the.
Well, the website that I had some pages that relate to our courses.
Okay.
And according to, see, the ethics are, as a psychologist, I have a certain power over my patients. If I mention something I'm selling, that's like pushing them to buy what I sell.
Okay.
I
So
can't
it's
do that.
not allowed. I didn't know about that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of ethics stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
I would be glad to read
yeah.
it if I had the time because your posts are so long. So
I'll have little pieces. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I loved your climate change post. Was great.
Yeah, a bit depressing, I know. Yeah,
Yeah, that would be really interesting to explore in terms of how nihilism or physicalism is at the root of a lot of these social problems.
I was thinking about that, but it became so long that because also here you see we have this problem in modern society. Yeah, people don't want to go into the technical details, but if you don't know the technical details, you can also not express an opinion, have an understanding of what is really happening. Because you saw, I put a lot of graphs, yeah?
So, yeah.
Yeah, and I said, make an effort, go through these graphs, because only
Right.
if you see what is really happening, where things spike, spike in this, only if you have this feeling, you must not understand the numbers on the, but this spiking and exponential growth process and dynamics is more than sufficient to understand what is going on. But you have to go through a bit, and you have to understand some technical details. So yeah, at the end, but I put, I inserted there quite often the reference that I foresee, and I mean, it's Robindo and a lot of other people, that we are going towards a subjective age. Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, but it will take a little bit of tunnel tour from what I can see. Because
Yeah.
I previously was an optimist in this sense.
Mhm.
Now I say, just recently in Germany, you can see this. There's total, complete refusal from
Yeah.
the civil society
Right.
to
I
make
know.
this, take this. Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah.
But maybe the laws of human nature will suddenly change.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Next
I
week
brought it in the miracle chapter. Did you read it? The miracles.
in
No,
your
no,
in
that's
your
it will
book.
be, I think, in the second or third part, where I said, well, miracles sometimes happen,
Right.
and then I put a footnote, and I said, well, make first a list of technical miracles
Mhm.
that could happen. Geoengineering, sucking out the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and so on.
Right.
And then I say that another human miracle can happen, that
Right.
suddenly there's this great awakening.
Mhm. Well,
But I also added that this dream, so far as I can see, this is not the dream of the Almighty for the time being. For the time.
everyone has to read our books. That's the secret.
Yeah, exactly. I will
Everyone reads our
add
books.
this. I will add this.
That's it. That's it.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Thank you.
it's immensely helpful to get the clarity, and I see that my approach, I've done this for so many decades, things that have become simple and obvious to me, I can't leave out the steps. That's a good reminder.
Yeah. But it also helps also me to understand what people don't understand, allows you
Right.
to see clearly what
Yes.
eventually I myself don't understand. Yeah.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. This exchange is very fruitful always.
Yeah. Well,
It's
that's okay.
fine.
Okay.
Thank you, Don. Bye. Have a
All right.
nice day. Bye-bye.
Thanks. You too. You too. Bye bye.